for this opportunity. For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Regina Weiss. I am a candidate for the 27th House seat. That includes the communities of Berkeley, Huntington Woods, Oak Park, Pleasant Ridge, Royal Oak Township, Hazel Park, and Pleasant Ridge. And so I'm really excited to be able to talk to you all. I currently serve as a city councilwoman in the city of Oak Park. I was elected in 2017, and I've been serving in that role since, and it's been such a pleasure and honor to get to serve the amazing citizens in the community of Oak Park alongside our wonderful Mayor, Marion McClellan, and the rest of council. We have such a great city staff and city administration, and it's been a wonderful privilege to get to have the opportunity to do that. And I also currently work as a teacher. I teach in the Detroit Public Schools Community District. I teach high school English and social studies. I also have previously worked for the Tri-Community Coalition, which is, for those of you who are not familiar, Robert Wittenberg, who's on the call, who's currently a state rep, he's actually serves on the board of the TCC with me as well. The Tri-Community Coalition serves the communities of Oak Park, Berkeley, and Huntington Woods, focusing on mental health and wellness, as well as substance abuse prevention. And through that role, I've also worked in Berkeley schools and Oak Park schools, running programming for students in those districts. So my experience has really been what has driven me to run for this seat. As a teacher, I have seen firsthand, unfortunately, how failed education policy plays out right at the ground level in classrooms. I see how it affects students and their families and communities. And I firmly believe that we need more educators in Lansing making these important policy decisions, because we're the ones who actually understand and know exactly how those things are going to play out. Additionally, as a councilwoman in Oak Park, I also have seen how mismanagement from Lansing has affected local governments, and in particular, a lack of investment through revenue sharing back into local communities. That has had a devastating impact on communities across our state, seen most dramatically in crises such as the Detroit bankruptcy or the Flint water crisis, but seen more in local and more locally in a lot of our local communities, just in terms of being able to fully fund infrastructure improvements, maintain infrastructure, maintain public safety, provide the adequate programming for residents that we all rely on. And, unfortunately, our state, the state of Michigan, is the worst state in the entire country when it comes to revenue sharing. We rank 50th out of 50, and I firmly believe that that needs to change. And I'm really proud of a lot of the things that we've accomplished in Oak Park. I want to take that experience that I have working at the local level and bring that to Lansing to help fight for the issues that we all care about in our district. This is one of the most progressive districts in the entire state. We have a long legacy of very strong progressive leadership from our current rep, Robert Wittenberg, Ellen Coggan-Lipton. Before Ellen, we had Andy Meisner and Gilda Jacobs, David Gubo. And so we have this very long legacy of strong progressive leadership. I want to continue fighting for these same sorts of issues that the reps traditionally in this district have fought for. So I already mentioned a few of those, but some other large issues that I want to fight for. One is making sure that we're enacting anti-racist legislation. We see right now firsthand how, unfortunately, centuries of racial discrimination and racist policies have directly impacted and continue to impact communities across the country. And we need to make sure that the only way that we can combat institutional racism is by enacting anti-racist policy and anti-racist legislation. That includes things like requiring statewide standards for use of force guidelines and training for police officers. That also includes criminal justice reform, getting rid of the cash bail system, getting rid of pretrial detention altogether, except in extreme cases. Also making sure that we are working to provide community resources and education and mental health care and affordable housing. Those are all critical things that we need to be working on. I also support enacting common sense gun legislation, which again, our current rep, Robert Wittenberg, has worked really hard on. I want to continue fighting for those policies in Lansing. I also want to continue fighting to institute a graduated income tax. Hopefully it'll be on the ballot and hopefully it'll pass, but if not, and even if it is, we all know that often the Republican-controlled legislature can mess with ballot language and make it not what we want. And so it's really important that we continue fighting for that. Also expanding Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act to include all LGBTQ plus people as well, which again, there's a ballot initiative for, but we need to keep fighting for it and make sure that if that does pass, that it's protected. So those are like some large issues I want to work on. I don't want to spend my entire spiel talking, though. I want to make sure I can answer some questions if anyone has any questions for me.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Regina? Let's see. Okay, I'll go with the question then. So, you're running to represent an area which we're fortunate to have a really large Jewish population. I'm wondering, how you would be a representative, particularly for the Jewish community as we're facing anti-Semitism and other issues that, matter to our community in particular.
Absolutely. I think the first and foremost job of a representative is to represent. And so to make sure that we're showing up for our community everywhere that we can. And obviously, the 27th district does have a very strong Jewish population, and it's really important that whoever that rep is, that we're building and cultivating those relationships and making sure that we are representing that community. And I'm fully committed to doing that. I've been doing that already through my role on city council. Trying to show up to certain events and reach out and build relationships within the Jewish community. Also, through my work for the Tri-Community Coalition, I've built a lot of relationships with the faith community within Oak Park, Berkeley, and Huntington Woods as well. Again, it comes down to making sure we're showing up for things, making sure we're reaching out, we're building relationships. And when there are issues, you're there and you're able to fill in and help out whenever needed. And I will absolutely 100% always fight back against anti-Semitism and any issues like that would occur in our district. And hopefully they don't, but we all know that just like racism, this stuff doesn't just go away. So we need to be diligent and we need to make sure that we are paying attention and that we're taking swift action whenever something does happen.
Awesome. Thanks, Regina. Any other questions for Regina? Yehudis, go ahead. You're muted, I think. Yehudis, I think you're muted. Go ahead. Let's see. There you go.
Okay, I was saying hi, fellow Oak Parker.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you. I'm wondering about the question of, the importance of licensing for police officers and, establishing a database of police records. Where could something like those issues begin? At what level do you think could those types of questions be handled? Is that to the Oakland County Sheriff? Are these questions for the representative like yourself? Hopefully, maybe this is something that Robert can answer as well when he comes on. I've just been wondering about these issues and wondering where we can start with them.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when it comes to policing, there are multiple places where we could address that issue. You can address it at the very local level, at the city level. You could address it at the county level, but you can also address it at the state level. That's why when I was talking about having things like statewide requirements or statewide standards, that's something that we could do at the state level to ensure that that we at least have like state minimums for what those requirements are. So you don't have one jurisdiction where they could be doing all the right things and then the next town over, they don't have any of those things in place. And so I do think that there is a lot of action that we can take at the state level, but there is also local action that can be taken as well. We've been really fortunate in Oak Park to have such an amazing public safety department and a great public safety director. And we very much value and work towards community policing as being our primary focus. And I think that is a model that we should be expanding around the state. I think community policing is very important. I would also support increasing training for police officers in areas of like having officers take social work classes. I think that we can give more police officers training to help them deal with difficult situations, beyond just simple like one-off de-escalation trainings, to actually help in many different circumstances. And that also helps them professionally, professional development for them as well. And it can make all of our communities safer, and also increase standards for policing across the state.